Hello everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and we're now going to look at Cobra Kai and take an in-depth look and review of the recent trailer for the upcoming Season 3. This is the much anticipated return of the Karate Kid Legacy series, which will be continuing on Netflix in January 2021 following its debut on the YouTube Premium Red platform back in 2018. And just a quick preface before I do this review, I love Cobra Kai. I think both seasons were absolutely superb. In short, they were the right way that you continue a franchise. You know, we've gone over so many years where we've seen so many franchise reboots or continuations or reinventions, and most, if not all of them, have had various problems, whether in terms of establishing canon or underdeveloped characters, or in many ways affecting the status of previous iconic characters as well. But Cobra Kai was very unique in that it managed to respect and attach itself to the legacy of the Karate Kid films, but at the same time move forward with newer and younger characters and build a newer continuity going forward. It was the right way to do it. It has the heart and soul, everything that older fans want, but at the same time it's giving new stories that new fans can also jump into. So I just think it was the perfect way to reboot a franchise, and I will provide reviews of both seasons on this channel leading up to the third season. I did watch Cobra Kai way back on the YouTube Premium Red, but now that it's integrated on Netflix, I can go over the episodes again, and I will provide reviews of both episodes of both seasons coming up in the future. So before we go into each review, we're just going to do a quick recap of what happened at the end of Season 2. So there will be spoilers now, so if you haven't caught up with all of the episodes yet of Cobra Kai, I advise you to go away, catch up on Netflix, and then come back to this review. So at the end of Season 2, we had the fallout of that truly epic all-out war within the school of the finale, which resulted in Miguel getting brutally injured, and I think he's in a coma when he fell down the ledge onto the stairs. We had his mum blaming Johnny for the incident, and as a result Johnny went back to heavy drinking. Robbie, who pushed Miguel over the ledge, goes on the run, and then we see that Kreese has formally taken over the Cobra Kai dojo. All the students are firmly behind him. They blame Johnny for the fact of what happened to Miguel, saying that Johnny was too soft. If you go and watch Season 2, you'll see that Kreese was slowly working his way in and manipulating behind the shadows as Johnny was losing a bit of control of the dojo as he was building a relationship back with Miguel's mum. So when we look at this trailer and we look at the couple of the opening scenes, one of the biggest developments, of course, following the fallout of Season 2 is that we now see Johnny really broken out. We've seen him in that jail cell and he's got his black eye, so we assume that after he's gone on various benders, maybe he's got into a fight with a couple of people and he's got arrested. We see later on that clearly now Johnny and Daniel, they realise the error of their ways or the ramifications of the whole rivalry, and they decide to unite forces against what we probably determine now the villain will be of the entire season, and that is Kreese. And this of course makes perfect sense that both Danny and Johnny would work together to bring down Kreese, who has a firm stronghold now on the Cobra Kai. We get a couple of scenes where we see the students now training, and so he'll have the control. So it'll be interesting to see what extremes that he'll take the Cobra Kai philosophy in the future going ahead. But it'll be very good for Daniel and Johnny to work together this time. Again, it just freshens things up after having them at odds with each other for the first two seasons, and now you're going to have them working together. So I like that. In fact, it just gives us something different rather than just having them against each other for the whole entire series. We got that great quote from Amanda, Daniel's wife, when she refers to them as Tango and Cash, and again, that's another great element of Cobra Kai, showing that again its heart is really rooted in the 80s, and it makes constant references which I think all fans, they all love on this. So very interested to see how Daniel and Johnny will get on in the fight back against Kreese, who will be the long-standing villain throughout the whole season. Other developments, of course, we see that Robbie, it looks like he's got arrested and he ends up in some sort of detention centre. So again, his past is maybe catching up with him. He's getting picked on by bullies, we see earlier on, and I think we get a scene where we see Sam going to visit him, so it'll be interesting to see what also happens in their relationship. Will they stay together, or will she be angry at Robbie for what happened to Miguel? If you remember, going back at the tail end of season 2, we saw that Miguel and Sam had kissed. Tori saw that, and that's what preempted the amazing battle that we got in the season finale. So it'll be interesting to see what Robbie's role is when he comes back to getting back on the straight and narrow. Will he go back to Daniel, or will he go back to Johnny? Will they train him up together as they lead the fight back against the Cobra Kai? So very interesting developments on here. Also, another question is, how will the Sam and Tori rivalry play out? We see a couple of scenes where I think they meet up again in the Miyagi garden. So will they fight again? I think there's another scene in it looks like a nightclub where I think they encounter each other again. Early signs are that the rivalry is going to continue, so we'll be very interested to see how that plays out in the future. That was a dominant arc if you look at the last 3 to 4 episodes of season 2, Sam and Tori rivalry, and I think they did that very well. So how will that play out? Will they eventually join forces? Will we eventually see a whole teaming up of the likes of Robbie, Miguel, Sam and Tori, and Daniel and Johnny as they go up against the Cobra Kai forces? Be interested to see what happens there. And speaking of Miguel, we get scenes, of course, where we see him in hospital, slowly beginning the road to recovery, and he's going to be aided by Johnny. We see that, and again, that establishes the very strong bond and relationship between the two, which was really, I think, the foundation of Cobra Kai. If you go back to season 1, that was one of the earliest connections, wasn't it? That Miguel was getting picked on and he wanted to get trained by Johnny, and that's how we see their friendship build up. So that's a very strong facet of the show, and I think they want to get back to that. They want to get back to Johnny teaching Miguel learning from Johnny again, and showing their building and developing throughout as well. So very good. I think that's a good aspect of the show that they're trying on there. And again, great performances as well from both actors involved as we see them developing. A few nice comical moments when Miguel's in a hospital bed and he's trying to reach for the table and he keeps falling over. So again, we're going to go back, I think, to that season 1 dynamic of them training together. So that's all very good as well on here as well. So we get other scenes where we see the return of the supporting characters. So I think that's something that they should try to re-establish in this season. That's something that I think got a bit lost in season 2. We didn't get quite a firm grip on the younger characters and where they were coming from. So, for example, Hawk, very much a sympathetic character in the first season. He kind of becomes a typical bully in the second season. We see that he trashed the Miyagi dojo, but then shortly after, he made friends again with Miguel. So, we really need to find out where he's going ahead. Will he build his friendship again with Eugene, I think it is? How will they get on together? We do see earlier scenes where it looks like that rivalry is going to continue. First, when we see them in the school, and later on when we see them on the football pitch as well. So again, very good developments to see how they play out in the future as well. We also see another scene where we see Amanda, Daniel's wife, going to the Cobra Kai dojo and slapping Kreese. I think this takes place earlier on in the season where we're dealing with the fallout of what happened, and obviously Amanda blames Kreese, who's in charge of the Cobra Kai dojo, so she goes there and then slaps him. I don't think it will be a major development arc throughout the season. I think it's just the opening scene within the first couple of episodes. Now, of course, the biggest development that I'm pretty sure would have got all fans, particularly of the old movies, excited, I know it got me excited the most, is when we see the scenes of Okinawa, Daniel going back there. If you know your movies, of course, and you watch them, this was the setting for the sequel, Karate Kid Part 2, where him and Miyagi go back to visit his family, and they get embroiled in the ongoing rivalry between him and Sato. And yes, as a fan of those movies, it brings the memories back. We see the original actress who played the love interest, Kumiko, I think that is sure looks like her, especially when you see her smile like that. So we see her reuniting again and again, just brings the flashbacks. Very good as well. And yes, as the original fans, this is again another sign of why Cobra Kai works, because they really respect the source material. They know what works, they know the beats that will get fans excited, bringing all those nostalgic feelings back. And yeah, I just love seeing it. And again, very pretty smile, you can tell it's her. And then we got the best scene of all, where we see Chow Zen back returning. As you all know, if you've watched the movies again, he was the antagonist for the sequel, and you had that epic fight between the two, that climatic fight at the end of the movie. And then we see him and Daniel training together, so that'll be very interesting, because Chow San really didn't like Daniel, and why would he take the time to train him? Because as the climatic fight at the end of the Karate Kid 2, so why would Chow San train Daniel? You know, so I think this may be a one-off episode. Again, the episode lengths of the series tend to be 25 to 30 minutes. I don't know if this will be an extended episode. I think it will be one of those that happens early to midway through the season. Maybe Daniel can't cope with the fallout of what happened, and then had to go to Okinawa to do some soul searching, and then that's when he teams up with Kumiko and maybe Chow Zen. Maybe Kumiko and Chow Zen are married or in some form of relationship, because if you remember at the end of Karate Kid 3, or the middle of part of that sequel, I think it's hinted that Kumiko went to America to pursue her dancing career. So all of a sudden she's back in Okinawa at the same setting as Chow Zen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on there, but very thrilling and good developments to see Chow Sen training with Daniel. Will Chow Sen come back to the shores again? Will we get a massive team up of potentially Johnny, Daniel and Chow Sen all together in the same team? We probably won't, to be fair. I think this will probably be a standalone one-off episode, but still, that doesn't matter. Again, as I've mentioned already, it's great to just have these moments back again as we see Daniel going back to Okinawa. Will they play the iconic Peter Cetera song called For Love? I'm pretty sure they will. Not all the way through, of course, but I'm pretty sure they'll play little tones, or we'll hear little hums of that song in this episode. I think this is going to be a very special episode. I'm sure they'll throw in clips of the previous sequels. They did that particularly in season 1, and we'll see old clips of Miyagi and Sato, and we'll probably get some development of what happened to Sato. Maybe Chow San is a reformed character and he wants to continue the legacy of his uncle's work. So I just think it's great. I just love these scenes, and again, if you're a fan of the franchise, I think you could be really excited about what's happening for this season 3. If you look at the tone of the franchise now, I know some people have criticised that maybe Cobra Kai is a bit over the top. It's not really that realistic. But what you have to remember is, despite the modern day setting, Cobra Kai, its heart is firmly rooted in the 80s. That is where the source material is coming from. And as I mentioned before, a lot of the reason for the show's success is that it carries over that essence, that spirit of the franchise, and it puts it in the modern day setting. Yeah, there will be some times when the elements don't always mesh together, so you'll have these open fights in shops or schools or streets and there's no repercussions. Now in the 80s, of course, you could get away with that, but in the current era that we're in now, this Big Brother kind of landscape room where everybody's filming everything all the time, you know, some of the things in the show you wouldn't be able to necessarily get with. But what you have to understand is Cobra Kai is not a contemporary, grounded, real life commentary drama. That's not what it is. So that's what you really need to kind of establish. That's not what it is. It's a love letter to an iconic franchise, and it's a continuation at the same time, retaining what made the original franchise tick so well. And as I mentioned previously, it is the perfect way, the right way that you reboot the franchise. You keep all the elements that makes the original fans happy, and as we see throughout the previous 2 seasons, we get so many references of old 80s songs and 80s films, and that keeps the original fan base on side, and at the same time you have the newer characters as well, and for the most part they've been very successful in keeping a nice balance and a nice synergy between the old and the new, and that's what I think particularly the likes of Star Wars and Star Trek could learn from. Now, yes, they need to develop a bit more the younger characters, but we'll see that in the future, I'm pretty sure of. But overall, I'm very pleased with both seasons of Cobra Kai, and this trailer as well has got me super excited. I think it looks great, it looks fantastic. It's going to retain that same essence and tone. I did originally thought after the second season finale that maybe we were going to get a much more of a darker season following what happened, but I think they've looked at that and realised that's not always the way. There has to be some kind of upbeat, optimistic tone, right? Some sort of acknowledgement not to take this overly seriously, right? Some sort of escapism and fantasy about it. You can't make this a grind mark, gritty, overly dark show. That doesn't work, and that goes against what the franchise stands for. So far I think they're going right with everything they're doing right now. Lots of interesting elements and things to look forward to for season 3, and I'm very pleased with this trailer overall, and like I said, I will provide reviews for season 1 and season 2 very shortly on this channel. So those are my thoughts on the Cobra Kai season 3 trailer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you very excited for it, or do you think season 2 was maybe a bit disappointing and you're hoping to see a few signs of improvement for this season 3 trailer? Where do you think they will take it forward? Because if you didn't know, the show has already been renewed for a 4th season as well, so if it can keep up its popularity, then maybe we can get to a season 5. And what I'm really hoping for is that if Kreese is going to be the main villain for season 3, then when we get to season 4, we can hopefully see a return of Terry Silver from Karate Kid Part 3. That'll be fantastic, and maybe Daniel Barnes as well. That'll be very special as well if they can do that. I hope that's the plan, and they've got a 4th season in the can, so I think that's what we will see. I think Kreese will be the main villain for season 3, and then Terry Silver and Daniel Barnes will come over and take over the antagonist for season 4, and that'll be fantastic to watch for now. So those are my thoughts on a very interesting and lively season 3 trailer for Cobra Kai. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.